Hello, welcome. In this video we're going to be dismantling this Shimano Sora flight deck model 3300 shifter. So I think this is the 8-speed side. We're going to be doing both shifters in this video, and we're going to begin with this one. So what's really interesting about this shifter in particular is that the lever here for the downshifting is kind of like weirdly on the side, and normally Shimano has two long levers. I don't know if that was an inspiration from Campagnolo shifters. I actually quite like this better than flickering. I guess that's personal preference. So the cover here we need to take off, and it's a JIS screw, but you can just use any Phillips screwdriver to take it off, or any, the right size obviously. So there, and let's try and take that off. Hopefully these aren't too hard to reinstall. And it's off. What's this been held onto? Ah, okay. Sorry, I forgot to remove the kind of cord there for the flight deck computer. Seems to be glued on. There you go, I've unglued it. We're going to remove the plastic, the hood, and fast forward. Cool. So normally the other end of that ribbon is here. You need another Phillips. Okay, so we've unhooked that. We're going to need to remove the little pin here to take off the mechanism from the body. So underneath here there's a number 2 little Allen key bolt. Now we're going to need to knock out this pin. I think it's from this side. I'm going to use, I don't know, this little metal rod and a hammer. I'm going to tap it. And now you should be able to pull this out. And you can glide that out as well. So it's like a square hole. Technically I don't really care about this because I'm not going to use it. Right, to remove this lever, I'm pretty sure we're going to have to remove this little nut here first. Now from experience, I really don't completely like removing the whole mechanism apart. I found that a lot of these road shifters are very difficult to work on often. And behind here there's a, right there at the end of my finger, there's a JIS screw which we can access by moving a little bit on the side. Let's get that out of the way. And so normally now this should be able to pull apart. Now there's a spring on the inside. Sorry. There's a spring on the interior here, and I have a feeling that might be the difficult part to put back on after. Oh, there you go. Now this spring here is going to be horrible to put back on. And there's a bushing right there. Okay, so to gain more access to the shifter, you're going to need, I'm going to use this tool, I think it's called a four-pronged little bit. I know that you can have one with 2 bits, they're like security keys, and they might work if you have very large ones. Otherwise you can try with a plier, but I find typically they're quite hard to remove. This one doesn't seem too tight. Now what's very funny is these shifters, I don't know why it's funny, but these shifters are kind of badly made, if I'm honest. On the inside they don't look very precise. I wouldn't be surprised if this pops out or something, this spring. Well, before I forget, there's also a little spacer here that was stuck on. Right, well, let's go ahead and take off the first part. Okay, I managed to pop up the plate. Okay, so it turns out that that little bit there you can't remove. And so if you want access to this, you'd have to take off the whole mechanism. I'm not really going to do that, mainly because I know how hard they are to put back on. And yeah, just don't want to do it. So I'm going to avoid it. I don't really feel like sitting there for hours trying to get spring back on. What I will show you though is that you can take this off. And by the way, there's a little spacer there on the other end, which I hadn't seen before. It's stuck on. And what you can do is this plate here can be taken off. And what that will do is essentially give you access to that part. But you'd need to remove just that little E-clip there. And I think another issue that happens quite often is these pulls there, they get stuck, and you can have access to this as well. By just removing that E-clip there, you can actually remove this and put grease underneath and put it back on. I think we'll leave that as is. Obviously some people might want to remove this, but I think if you already have the mechanism, you just swap it with another one. I don't think it's that hard to take off further on. If you just pull this, I think at one point you'll need to tension it again. That might be the complicated part. So now what I'm going to do is completely degrease and clean this part that I've got already, and the other parts, and then we'll put this back together again. Right, that's cleaner than before. So what I generally do for this is, well, using a small grease gun, I've been able to pump some grease into the part for the cam. There was like a little hole here somewhere where you could do that, and then I used degreaser on some of the parts, not everything though, and then silicone spray, WD, not WD-40, but from the same brand. There's probably better alternatives, but I haven't found them yet. But anyway, also you can put a grease and then put some WD-40 and it kind of liquefies it and makes it go into all the little tight corners. So first thing we're going to do is put that plate back on. The very thin spacer that goes above. And then our nut, which goes on clockwise. It's a very weird sized nut. It doesn't seem to be 8 or 9. It seems to be like 8.5. Now this wasn't on super tight. So yeah, just leave it like that. Okay, now we're going to need to tension up this spring. So right here, the other end of it, that hook shapes going around like that. And this tip there is going to go into there's like a hole right there on the lever. And I believe this was installed in this position. And now we're going to need to get something to grab the tip and bring it to the hole and put it into the lever. So I'm just going to do it with a knife. think it's gone in. Now the trouble with this is you don't want the spring to be overlapping. And this plate, you need to really push this down to get it lodged on. So in fact it was so difficult to push down by hand, I've actually just put the nut back on to get that plate fully seated. Now I think it's on, and now I'm going to take it back off again. And now I can see it's flat on. Now we can put this back on. So the so that tab there, that's going to eventually go in between, I don't know how to explain it, these two parts kind of separate. Let's install it and we'll see. So there it's on, and if you move this to the side and open it up, this should now seat in between those two little bits there, kind of like that. I've finally got that screwed down. I need to put this back in the middle again because it's unlatched. And now finally we've got the worst part to do, getting that spring tensioned up here and putting it back onto this, which won't be fun. I have come up with an idea though, hopefully that'll work. So this tip there is going to go into the hole, the back of this lever. Now the trouble is the other end of the spring that's kind of curled shaped, it needs to go and latch in front of this part right there, you know, my finger. Now the trouble is obviously that when you put this in, you can't reach for this. So I think last time I used a pin or something bent that I managed to fit behind it. This time I'm going to try something else. I'm going to attempt to use this bit of metal and bend it just a tiny little bit there, so I'll be able to grab the spring and tension it up and put it there. We'll see how that works. Oh, nearly forgot. Here there's this little square spacer. You don't want to forget that. Actually, what I decided to do was install our little handmade tool that I've made. So right there, I've actually put it in now because after it's impossible to do. And that's now holding onto the spring. So now we install this. You have to forgive me if this goes out of focus. It's very difficult to do this. Okay, so it's going in front nearly. Got it. I can't believe it. I've actually done it. Hold everything down. We've now got this spacer to pop back in. There you go. Got it. And our little nut. Now just tighten that down. And now we need to put that screw at the back. So now that everything is pretty much installed, you can test it, and I will tell you now that the shifting is so much better now that it's been cleaned. Next is putting on the cover. It's very difficult to get it on. So there's like a plastic part here on the top, and you can move it about, by the way, and you want it to be so there's like a little bump on it, and if you look on the interior of the plastic, there's like a kind of space for that bump there, so we know that's the right position. And I think this little bit here that's sticking out, that kind of goes through that little gap there. So it's very difficult to get on this derailleur, the cover. Oh, and before, actually, you need to put this, which is going to seat here at one point. I'm going to put the screw down. Hopefully that's going to push the lever all the way down. Yeah, it looks like it is. So it's not perfect. Seems to be working though. So, and kind of finally. So we got the spring there. That little tip is going to go into the hole there on the side. And then the other end is going to push. I'm going to clean this actually before I put it back on. I forgot to do that. The other end is going to push against the plastic ridge there. Alright, so I've cleaned it up. If you want to continue using this, I think I'm just going to throw mine away or cut it off now, but you kind of want to put this inside now through the hole. Oh, I'll just do it. Don't forget to install this back on. I can't remember if it goes underneath one over. It's underneath. It then goes, the ribbon there goes behind the lever. If it becomes annoying though for installation, I'm going to literally cut it off. And so look, now I've got it in, should be good like this. So now we just need to put the pin back through. Mine's just pushing through really easily. Sometimes you have to get a hammer to do that. Might have to for the last bit. Nope. Great, now let's put that little bolt back in. And whoops, that ribbon there is not supposed to go underneath this. It's meant to go only underneath that one and through there. I'm just going to cut mine. I don't really want it. And we'll be passing on to the other side of the shifter now. Okay, that's all pretty much on. Right, well there you have it for this side. So now we can begin working on the free-speeded side. This one. So let's begin by removing the plastic hood. Let's remove the two little screws on the side. One. Okay, now we need to knock out this pin. So we're going to be doing it on the part that's a little bit more rounded. And before we do that, we need to undo the little Allen bolt underneath. So that's what is it, number 2. Make sure that you remove all the tension on the screw by shifting down. So I think what we're going to do is remove that Phillips bolt at the back of the lever here, as the previous one. So here we've got number 8. Just taking off the bushing. And now we should be able to remove that. So there's a spring at the back. There's a spacer that we don't want to forget. That's right there. And there's a plastic bushing on this side if you want to remove that. I think we will, because we're going to clean this a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the lock nut at the back here. This tool actually I found out recently is a Shimano tool. It's a special tool. I'm going to put the link in the description. Well, not the link, the reference. But through first research, it looks like it's not really something that's on sale anymore. So anyway, I'm going to stick that in. I think you could probably make this actually using a small, maybe a small socket. This one, maybe a little bit too. This would probably work. It's number 7. Maybe if you've got one that was fatter. So again, this plate was quite hard to remove, like the last one. And I'm not going to see where the other end of the spring was when I initially took it off. Very annoying. While I was cleaning, I decided, since I did that on the last one, I'll do that on this one as well. I'm going to just remove this cover, and I think that gives you a lot more access as well. So this is like a number 9, but it's a weird number 9. It's a little bit underneath, so I think they put possibly a imperial size. And there's a very thin space there, don't lose that. So you can take that off, and the tabs on the top. There you go. And it looks like the WD-40 softened up the grease underneath this. And apparently once I've done that, I'm already taking things off, so I might as well just keep going. So this weird star shape. We have this spacer with a tab, and it seems like it was locking or stopping the cam from going further right there. So let's lift it up. And pretty much from here you can kind of take everything from here on out. I don't think I need to on this one because the mechanism's not particularly sealed in any way, so I've got quite a lot of access. But here I guess what's nice is you can add on a bit of grease inside there, inside the cam, and the parts are going to have a bit of friction, so that's good. I'm going to do that now. Whoops. So there, for this spring, that one that's sticking out, there's a slit, quite obvious where it goes. And now we've got this spacer of the tab, and there's 2 holes, and I believe the other tip of the spring goes onto the left. Got it on. And make sure that tab is kind of like at the end of the stopper part of the inside of the cam there. And so obviously that's returning, so that if you look at the pull right there, when this is turning, this should be kind of returning. See, like this. Okay, now holding that down, I've added some grease. We've got this type of cross-shaped spacer, bushing. That's a spacer rather. Now I've got to remember where this went. And for this part, if you look there, there's 2 teeth, and I think that they wedge into the cam there and there. So we know roughly that this needs to go towards that side, and it also needs to seat where where there's the cross-shaped spacer. Bit hard to keep this down at the same time. Okay, that's on, and now we can put our. Now that that's done, let's put this plate on. So the tab is facing upwards, and tab of this part here goes into the hole. Make sure everything's not falling out. And then we can put on our nut. And there's still my spacer on the top there. Don't forget that. And in case you've had any issues, so for example this lever might have moved out the way, can easily jump over that part. This is the exact position that we want everything in. So you'll have, I don't know, that kind of tab there that's sticking out, that's pushing against this. And you have that part there, that's going to be eventually pushing against this, and it's triggering it. If you do need to adjust it, just simply undo the nut a little bit, and it should give you the opportunity to be able to slide these about. So next we're going to have this plate and the return spring for our lever. Make sure that you put a tiny bit of grease. I've already done that. So for the spring, the hook part is going to be hooking on towards here, and the other little tip there is going to be going into the hole of the lever, seating into it. And I think we need to be in this position. There's only two ways of putting this plate on. So there you go, I've got that one in there. You can have reference by there's a silver circle, let's say. And once we've got that down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a flat-headed screwdriver, and I'm going to recline the tip of that spring and bring it to that hole of the lever. Or maybe this knife, that'll be quicker. Okay, I just got it in. So what this needs to be seated all the way down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the nut that we've got to seat it down while the spring's still in, and then we'll undo it again. Okay, I just got the spring to pop in. Took me quite a bit of time, and that's not the worst of the springs to work on. The next one's even harder. So there's this tab, and that tab, hold on, needs to seat between this part and the other part. Okay, so you see that I've put it on, and we're going to need to move that out of the way. So by moving that, this one, yeah, it's just about on. I think the issue is because that other plate's not seated correctly, so I'm going to have to put the nut on, and then maybe that will help. Hopefully our spring doesn't slip out while we're doing that. Yeah, so as I've pushed down now, that tab is seating just in between those two bits. Okay, that should be okay like this. And you can definitely check easily if that's working by seeing this back onto the cover. Yeah, it's working. Cool. Now we need to install the large lever. So I'm going to put back this plastic bushing that was there. Remember that behind here there was a thin space. I've put a bit of grease, and that's just to kind of keep it in place while we're installing this, otherwise it'll fall off. So what the hard part is on here is we need to tension up this spring, and it needs to be done behind the cover, but I found out a way how to do it, as seen on the last lever that we did. So the tip that's facing downwards, that's very obvious, it's going into the hole that's all the way there at the back. Now the other tip of that spring right there, that needs to, if you look right there, the tiny little tab, it needs to go behind it up here towards there. So to do that, I used this kind of bit of metal really. It's quite hard, and it's going to be able to hook onto it from behind, and we're going to be able to pull it. So let's do that. It's not super easy to do. So there, I'm just going to go behind the little hook part of the spring. Then we can kind of begin to install this. And yeah, now you're going to have fun trying to recline it back. So as you can see there, I'm putting it. Okay, got it. If you just see right there, I'll zoom in as much as I can with this camera. And it's just there in the front. Right, now we've got to shimmy this back in and put our bushing and our nut to hold this all down. There. And our number 8. Behind here we have this bolt to put back in. If you want to square that up, you can. Check that this is working, essentially. So now we've got to put the little plastic covers on. So there's this one that you need to put behind here. So I think that flight deck cable goes just underneath it. Kind of need to put it like this. And then you've got this one. So there's this little plastic pot here with kind of like some shape ridges, and that kind of seats underneath here. You'll see there's this place where you need to put it. That looks like it's okay. Check that that's not. Yeah. Okay, so we got a little screw here. Great. This flight deck cable is absolutely worthless to me, so I'm just cutting it off. Hope I haven't ruined it. So we've got some bushings here, there, the long ones on the left. Put that on. I've put some grease on that spring. I'm going to put a tiny bit actually in here as well. Where is that? So one tip of that spring, where is it there? That little hook part goes into the hole on the sides. And pretty much the other end right there is going to push down against this part. Really nice and easy. And now we've got our pin to put back through. Sometimes these are hard to line up. And the little plastic bolt goes underneath here. Right, there you have it, done. So, hope this helped you repair your Sora flight deck shifters. Thank you for listening, and until next time, peace out.